Hello and welcome to Tommy Surfs. I'm Tommy, and this video is going to be about increasing your wave count. Someone recently requested that I post videos of where I was sitting, then paddling for a wave, then catching the wave, and then surfing the wave. And I know in most videos they just show the person surfing the wave, and oftentimes they're panned in so close you don't even get to see what's coming of the wave. You just get to see their maneuvers. And so I thought, yeah, you know what, there is value to this, because if you're a beginner or intermediate, it would help to know what's going through the mind of someone who's been surfing a while. And a couple things I wanted to touch on before going into positioning, and that's kind of understanding the wave. Anywhere you go, whether it's a beach break or reef break, etc., the reef breaks will have a consistent pattern. But even in beach breaks, due to swell direction, swell energy, the way the patterns are built, there is some degree of predictability. So if you watch a swell enough, you'll see that it breaks in certain places. So it's important to actually go to a break, sit there for 10-15 minutes, and not just look at, oh, you know, that wave's good, that wave's bad, etc. Looking at conditions, look at the patterns. And based on that, if you like lefts or rights, you know, you want to sit in the proximity of where those waves come in, because as that swell energy comes in, however the sandbar set up, you're going to find that you're going to be better positioned if you go in with that type of strategy. So the second thing I need to mention is also pay attention to the surfers in the lineup. You don't want to paddle into a crowd of a bunch of advanced surfers and a bunch of them being longboarders. Odds are you're not going to get any waves. So, you know, pick out your lineup. If you notice that there's a couple guys by themselves, one's a beginner, another one seems more advanced, but he likes to go right, and there's a left, and you happen to like going left, sit on that peak. That way, you know that the other guy will always take the right, and you can split that wave with them. So study the waves, study the surfers, and have a degree of strategy. One small note to add regarding beach breaks is that even a beach like Bolsa Chica, which is 2 miles long, okay, surfing Tower 16 and Tower 19 are going to be totally different. The sandbars are different. In fact, the shoreline's different. I don't know if you've ever sat at the beach and looked down. If you look south, it almost curves, right? So it's going to take a particular swell different than the north end of Bolsa. So given all those factors, just make sure that you study the wave and don't just confine yourself to one spot. Now, regarding positioning, if you notice the two guys that were sitting out there, they didn't even look at this wave. So oftentimes when I think the waves are better on the inside, I'll sit inside of surfers and let them take the bigger sets that come in. And, you know, sometimes they're more walled out. So, and I might not have the proper board. So, you know, going out on a day like this, if I really wanted, I could have taken out my twice baked and sat really far on the inside and taken much smaller waves and had way more fun. I would have probably doubled my wave count. But I had my dominator, so I needed the bigger wave, so I was kind of sitting in the middle. And this one here, right after that last wave, I just basically turned around on the way out. I caught the second wave. Now, regarding positioning, now that you've kind of figured out, okay, I want to sit in this proximity, I'm not going to sit by advanced surfers, pick out who you're going to sit by and the range that you're going to stay within, and then start to be proactive about catching waves. A lot of beginners and intermediate guys, I notice, will sit there and they'll see a wave and they'll literally just look at it till it gets to them and decide last minute, okay, I think I'm going to take this. I think I can catch it. That is completely the wrong mind frame. You have to paddle out, and as soon as you see the lump, you have to ask yourself, where's the apex of that lump? That's the center of the wave, and on both ends of that center is going to be the left and the right, the shoulders, or what I always call corners. So right here, this is a corner going right, you know, from the perspective of the surfer. So I identify there's the lump. I need to know where that shoulder is going to be, the corner, and I paddle. And you'll notice that the steepness cups out where it's going to start to break, and where it isn't cupped out, it's kind of more angled, softer. That's where you want to be, is that point where it cups and becomes soft, and that's the corner. When you take off from there, depending on the conditions of the day, you're going to get your best ride at those places. You take off in the middle of the wave, then odds are you're going straight, you're not going to get the corners, or someone else in better position will take off on you. So it's really important to be proactive. So here, this was a decent wave. I saw it coming, and luckily it stayed open. But to me, when I looked at it, I thought it was going to close out. So I really didn't have much expectations of it, but it worked out okay. This part here, I wanted to emphasize patterns. So if you notice that on a particular day, waves are coming in 2s or 3s, you see a wave that's 50 yards out and you're not able to catch it, there might be one behind it. So make your way in that direction. So here I saw that wave pass me up, but I knew that the other guy was paddling for it, so I'm going to wait for the second wave. And more often than not, if you identify the pattern, that wave will come. So here I believe I kind of see a lump coming in, and it's kind of angled down, so it's going to be a left, right, from the perspective of the surfer. And I put myself right at the corner, right where it's breaking, right where it's not going to break, okay? And that's the best place to be. Now, the more advanced you are, the deeper you can actually take off. Just kind of recapping, you got study the ocean, study your break, study the surfers. Most of all, be proactive. So one of the things about positioning is you don't want to be a jerk about it, right? You're not trying to position to where you have the inside, because there's an etiquette in surfing where you want to take turns. The person waiting the longest should get the next wave. You take a set wave, you don't paddle right back out, and just because you have position, you're entitled to the wave. A lot of people think that, but that's like 80s competition rules. So unless you're in the OP Pro, and maybe some of you won't even remember what the OP Pro was, you don't do that. Don't position in that manner, okay? And really important is try to take off at an angle and try to drop in on your feet. So when talking about positioning, I'm more referring to like your strategy and proximity of where you're going to sit to just optimize your wave count. Okay, so you want to be in a location where you know there's a consistent corner, right? Pay attention to corners, because beginners and intermediate, a lot of times they see a lump, they turn around, they start paddling without any attention to where they're at, and so they don't always get a great ride. So if you saw me here, I was paddling diagonally as far to the corner as possible, because if I had just turned around, I would have been too deep when closed out. But because I paddled to the corner, I got a little short ride out of it. When a lump comes in, find the apex of that lump, the highest point of that lump, and you know that's the center of the wave. And moving left or right to the corners, that's where you want to head. Okay, so here, look at this wave. I noticed that the surfer's left, that's the apex, and it slopes off, so I positioned myself right at the corner and ended up getting an okay ride. And it got a little too soft, but 2 weak maneuvers was good enough. And then look at this left here. Corner's off, he catches it right in the corner, and he's able to go down the line. So the key word is proactive. Be proactive. Do not sit and wait and watch a wave come to you. Now, one thing when you are positioning to get a corner, you want to understand that if you have a very buoyant, easy to paddle board, your window of opportunity is much bigger, meaning that shoulder, you could take off right up against the cup, right at the shoulder, or a little further out because you have more buoyancy and you can paddle better. The shorter your board, the closer you're going to have to be to the steeper section of the wave to make catching the wave a lot easier. Okay, so if I could actually freeze the video, I would kind of frame where the takeoff zone is. But I think if you watch these videos enough, you'll understand that people always take off roughly at the same spot. You'll see the corner, you'll see the cup of the wave and the soft section of the wave, and it's kind of right in between that sweet spot. So be proactive and get yourself to that point. And so here I had the inside. I should have probably paddled more towards the corner, but it was such a slopey wave, I kind of knew I was going to make it. So I didn't bother. But I could have been more proactive, right? And turns out to be my longest ride, not the best ride, but the longest ride of the day. So just keep that in mind. When you see the lump, ask yourself, where should I be? Not, is this going to break? Can I catch? None of that. Ask yourself, where should I be? And then paddle to that place. Thanks for watching. If you are an advanced surfer and you can add any of your wisdom, please do in the comments. I'm certain it'll help a lot of the beginners and intermediates. Thanks.